very much.
Hello,
Thank
I'm Andrew Staton, world of Martial Arts TV. So,
you. I would just say to Will actually that I'm familiar with the channel and that I've popped in on it quite a bit with various YouTube things because of my training and my interests, and I found it really interesting, sort of fascinating. You get to see interviews with senseis, and they're a bit more humanized, and then you realize that they're quite cool people. You don't get a sense of the person if you're reading a magazine or watching them duff someone up on YouTube. And what I really like the way that that channel was, given a bit of a window to the world as well for anybody that wants to sort of have a look.
Well, you've done your fair share, and we're hoping that you're going to keep going because you've done really well with the British martial arts guys. So we'll get onto that. But first of all, let's talk Renegades.
Okay.
How did you get involved with it? Was it
I've
because
worked with a producer a couple of times before, and it was really simple. It was just, it was like, is the Bionic Man definitely doing this? Yes. All right, I'm in. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care about the script. I don't care where we film it. I don't care, whatever. Have I got scenes with Lee Majors, Colonel Steve Austin, the $6 Million Man? Yes. Right. I'll do it. And it was just simply because of that. And then, I met Lee, and he was an absolute sweetheart. He was brilliant. He was everything I wanted. He was everything I wanted him to be when I was doing my paper round, and it was my favorite show. And, and I had the toy, and I watched every episode. So it was just great. He was really cool, became a really good friend. I've seen him a couple of times since. Shows me pictures of, him and Steve McQueen and him and Paul Newman. And so it was just wow, just an absolute joy. So it was just about, is he doing it? Yes, all right, I'm in. And then, then there was the Saint, and then there was Dempsey and Makepeace. It was just everyone from my Saturday night telly is going to be in this film. So
Well, that was one of the things. You've just about answered all my questions, but no, that'll be fine. The thing was that that's one of the things that really sold the film to me, was straight away that Lee Majors was in it. You know what I mean? Because he is one of those icons of TV. But the other thing was that when we got to see the film, I was really impressed that it starts off somewhere and it goes totally different, doesn't it? It really starts off on you, and your problems with being in the war and stuff like that, and it really does give it a good sense of that, and you do really well. Did you find that difficult to manage? Have you done army stuff before?
Yeah, I really tried to beef that up. Actually, I spent a lot of time. I spoke to a few people, and then I watched a lot of interviews with vets that were doing post-traumatic. They do these exactly like the film. They do these sort of support groups, but they film them, so that you can, if you're feeling the same, you can sort of tap into it. So I watched a load of those, and I got the idea and a sense of how they thinking and how they deliver what they're talking about. I did a lot of research into like the fact that the guys in the green jackets are like, they're the cannon fodder, they're the first ones in, and making them a staff sergeant, like sort of warrant officer. So because then you're a sergeant, so you're not officer material, but you're the, there's a lot of minutiae. And then I went to the regimental archives, got a load of stuff out, made sure I got an actual beret with the right signature from the green jackets, because they don't exist anymore. They've been amalgamated with someone else. And so the whole thing that he's a staff sergeant with a unit that doesn't exist anymore, that are completely forgotten about and have been amalgamated. So I treated the beginning bit very much like it was a serious drama, and really tried to land those points, and did a lot of work on that opening speech. And then it becomes an episode of the A-Team, then it becomes fun and games. So you start off with that, think, oh, I hope this gets funnier. And then it does. It just gets, so all I had to do was bring us in at a vaguely serious point to start with. Then it gives you the bandwidth to be as daft as a brush as the rest of the film expands, and that's all I really wanted to do. And I think we got
I wouldn't say it was daft as a brush. I'd say, any film to me has to be entertaining, and I think you did a great job. Yeah. And that's the key to any film is the entertainment. talking about, we've gone through Lee Majors, so that question's gone. But Ian Ogilvy, how was he worked away? Because he was the saint, wasn't he? Just great.
And he's the sort of, I don't know, he's like a latter day David Niven, you know. He's so sophisticated and calm and whimsical. Billy Murray was like, well, let's improvise the scene, and Ian would just go, do you think that wise? You know, Billy, is that wise? And he'd just be this wonderful sort of, you know, laconic sort of cavalier wit. Exactly what you wanted him to be, you know. It's funny. He went to America. He married into a very wealthy family. He teaches out there. He only does a bit of work when he feels like it, which is a shame, really, because I think we were robbed of a great talent if he'd carried on plugging away a bit more, you know. He's such a find. And he's an amazing Nick, you know. Everyone's 80. Everyone was terrified. I was terrified about killing everyone, but with COVID, you know. So I was having like a test every day, 2 tests a day sometimes, because I didn't want to come in and make these guys ill, because I thought, you know, we're going to do over. But he was in great shape, really astute, really clever, full of wonderful anecdotes from, you know, the movies he did in the 70s, you know, all Witchfinder General or whatever, you know, just all of these stories about that. And I just sit there and lap it up and listen, you know, and think it was, you know, it was every day was a day at the races for me, you know. They were just listening to these wonderful older guys rattling out their anecdotes, and just, you know, it was like being told a story. It was brilliant. Great.
You had the most action, in my opinion. So have you done some martial arts? Have you practiced martial arts?
I'm a two-dan, a double black belt at Shotokan, and I went to Tokyo just before the pandemic and took part in the World Championships.
Wow.
And I very nearly came last, but that's like that close to coming last. I mean, I got my arse handed to me, but you know, it was representing our club in the, you know, Great Britain section. So I had the, you know, little GB emblem on my gi, and did the best I could. But that's full contact, you know, that's not mucking around. It's a KWF full contact tournament, and you know, the people getting their blocks knocked off left, right, and centre. So the guy that beat me went on to win the tournament. But it was very funny. So my sensei is a former world champion. Is, you know, he's the real deal, Sid. He's the head of the British Association and the former world champion, and teaches all over the world. And I said I wanted to do this. Sid sort of looked at me and said, all right, you've just about made the team. Who do you want to fight? And I said, I'd like to fight weak old men. And okay, so he put me in the over 50s category, which I just about scraped in. And of course, when you go to over 50s, they're all Mr. Miyagi, you know, they're all like senior senseis or national instructors. So you think it's going to be, I've been able to hold my own if it was some gobby young kid, but it was, they were all very, very senior. And the guy the Russian guy that I lost to is a head instructor of the Russian Federation. And he was toying with me, really. He just wasn't there. He was so experienced. Everything I did, he read a mile off, and just gently moved out of the way. I didn't break a sweat, and I'm bouncing around trying to throw everything at him, and just gently moved out of the way. And then bang, you know, that was it. He could have knocked my teeth out if he wanted to. He got two Wazaris, and that was me gone. And then he went on and won that part of the tournament. But it was amazing. You know, it was great. And the seminar, it was like a 2-day seminar, 2-day competition. The seminar was brilliant as well, watching these people, and you really got a real sense of the karate community and how disciplined they were, and then we all hung out in Tokyo, you know. But it was great, and there were, at no point was it, oh, you're that actor from Harry Potter, or you're that actor from so and so. I'm just one of the team, you know. Who was
fantastic,
you know,
fantastic.
So, and I didn't make I didn't do any press. I didn't do anything about it. I just did it as a, you know, just as a punter. So it's very, so getting back to the point, when I got to the movie, because I'm, you know, not known for doing action, that, you know, that's sort of fallen on the other guys, but I'm actually the guy that's you know, got the experience on the mat. So when we got the fight coordinator in with the fight coordinator, Mick Khan, who's ex-military, and he does this stuff with Steven Seagal, and he's done a load of things, and he's trying to get me to do this sort of silly pat the cake stuff, and I'm like, no. I said, look, what we're going to do, we're just going to do stuff from katas that I know. That's what we're going to do. I'm going to do bonkai for everything anyone throws at me. I'm going to do what I should do in the kata and incorporate it in, you know, because I know I'm pretty good. You know, I've got enough katas to choose from. I know what I'm talking about. And it was a bit, initially his nose was a bit put out. And then as we went through the things and I showed him what the katas have got or what I wanted to do or how they worked, he was like, yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's brilliant. Let's do that then, you know. And so for me, it was twofold. I was really interested in you know, exercising the bonkai, the katas, but also you see how effective they are.
Yeah.
Because of the way this film was, because it's a very low budget, we're trying to make a you know, an action movie on a, you know, on a play school budget. They ended up a lot of the guys that came in weren't really stuntmen. That guy Spider, I mean, bless him, he's a nice guy and he does a lot of kickboxing, but he's a 6'5" doorman, you know. And I'm not knocking him because he was great fun to work with. But if you have people that aren't stuntmen and the stuntman says, right, throw a left, and they go like that, and they, you know, like, oh no, maybe the other left. If you're an actor who's got a move practiced, and you know, if they do it wrong, you're going to get punched in the face. If someone tries to punch me in the face, I'm going to block it. So it was meant that the pressure wasn't on them. All they had to do was throw some arms and legs around, and I'm going to block them. It's all going to be fine. And you know, I never got hit. I never got hurt because I kept everything controlled, and I didn't try and do a move that I hadn't already done 1,000 times in a kata before. So I knew exactly what I was going to do. I knew exactly the move, I knew exactly what was going to happen, because that's my reaction to it. So it meant that we could work really, really quickly, and they could get the guy. There's a Dutch kid they brought in. He was just a kickboxer. He'd done nothing at all. And he when you're a fighter rather than a stuntman, you've no idea how to soften the contact. You know, you don't know how to soften it. So he just came in and started throwing these legs at me, and you know, I had to block them properly, and I had to double block. I had to do it like it would be in the kata, because otherwise I'd have got busted ribs. And then eventually, you know, it says in the script I win, so I win. And then once or twice, one or two of them would get a bit fruity and give me a dig, and I go, yeah, okay. Oh, you mean like this? And they get a dig back, and then that'd be the end of that. All right, okay, all right.
Good for you. Good for you.
You know, that was that. But no mats, no padding. You know, but that's how you do it in the dojo. You're on a wooden floor. You're in a little canvas suit. So it suited me fine, and it meant that I would have loved to have done more. I would have loved to have looked at some of the playbacks and been a bit more precise and a bit more extended and a bit more form. But the fact is, I managed to get away with and help choreograph and work all of those fights out by taking everything that I'd done in the dojo for the last, whatever, you know, 4 or 5 years, and putting it into some stuff on screen. And everyone was safe. No one got hit. No one got hurt. You know, so it all worked.
Fantastic. You've worked on a couple of martial arts movies, those with the English boys, haven't you? I mean, you've worked with Scott Adkins, haven't you, a couple of times?
Scott's great, but and it's Jesse J. Johnson, the director. I'm always the guy that's, you know, I keep getting killed, and I never get to have a fight with anyone. I've just done another film with Jesse, a fantastic action movie with Aaron Eckhart and the stunt team from the stunt team from John Wick, you know, and Atomic Blonde. But again, I'm the head of the KGB. I've just got a moustache and a gun. I don't get to have a fight with anyone.
That's no good. We need to see more action of you.
Absolutely right. Jesse has promised me that the next movie I will get to I'll get on the floor. I'll get to do a bit. But
what was it? what was it like working with Gary Daniels on Repeater? Because that's your next to be released, isn't it?
Yeah, I did that a few years ago. It's funny that, because I really like Gary, and we're in this hotel in Mexico. And again, I'm the guy that's I've got Christiana Hulken, from Terminator 3, he's my bodyguard. And Gary Daniels is the bounty hunter that's trying to wipe me out. So those two are sort of going at it, and I'm just sat in the corner, sort of, wimpishly trying to stay out of the way. And it was a real shame because, again, I didn't get to do anything. But because I got on so well with Gary, he's such a nice guy. We were in the gym in the hotel, and I was sort of working out with him and mucking about. And that was because that film has had a couple with COVID's like 2-3 year hiatus. It was that film that got me back into going to and working with Gary that got me back into doing karate again, because
fantastic.
For about 10 years, and then I started working out with him and working in the gym, and it was Gary that completely Gary's influence made me think. I got back, and my New Year's resolution was I'm going to get back into this. I never did get my black belt when I was doing it years ago. Get my black belt before I'm 50 and do it seriously. And it was all down to Gary Daniels and working with Gary and seeing, how slick he was.
He's a big friend of mine. Is Gary? I absolutely adore him. And I wish he could do some more. Superb guy.
What we did on that film is there was him and the stunt coordinator, and they don't drink. They weren't drinkers. So
no.
Oh no, but they were when I worked with them. So I got them out. So I said, okay, you can be drinking sensei. Okay, I'm drinking sensei. What do we drink now, sensei? Right, we're gonna have tequilas. Okay, so we had this gag where Gary's sensei during the day, and then I'm drinking sensei in the evening, and they took it really seriously. I got that terrible hangovers. So that I don't know if he's done it since, but on that job, I got the stunt guys. I got Gary drinking and drinking properly as well. But he's one of those drunks who's he's really good. Thankfully, I didn't think about it beforehand, but he is a really good tempered drunk. If he'd been a bad, spiteful, bad tempered drunk, we'd all be in trouble. But he's one of those. He's a good guy. So we're all right.
Taking you back a little bit, just quickly, you have been in a kind of a cult TV series, though it didn't get a lot of push. You were in CI5 of the New Professionals, one of the episodes.
Oh my Lord, yeah, that's going back some. Yeah, I'd done Lock, Stock, and it hadn't come out yet, and I went to see the guys about doing a guest turn in this thing, and they're all a bit full of themselves. And I said, no, I've just done the lead in this big film, and they were like, yeah, well, this is TV, this is different, this is real, films come and go, this is all right. But I did that. I did that. I can't remember much about it apart from riding a motorbike badly and swearing a lot. And of course, much to my disappointment, I never got to do any scenes with Edward Woodward, and I'm a massive fan of Edward Woodward. I really I watched every episode of Callan. I've got them on DVD somewhere, and I was really disappointed. I thought that was a shame, that show, because if it had been done right, they were not great guys. The actors were really great guys, but they tried to be a bit cheesy and sort of American friendly, and it didn't have the sort of the edge that the other guys.
It didn't have the Bodie and Doyle, did it? It didn't. It didn't. It wasn't.
Bodie and Doyle are a pair of cheeky fuckers, and they've got their own problems. And he's out shagging women, and the other one's out feeling, he's all mentally a little bit unbalanced, and they didn't have that with the new one, which was it was a shame. Everything at the time was trying to be sanitized and Americanized. And that ironically, that was the reason Lock, Stock worked, is because it didn't. That was the first film to come out that didn't try and be Americanized and friendly. That was just proper homegrown, homegrown violence. It's funny, actually, the reason when I first met Guy Ritchie, Guy was a two-dan Shota Khan at the Budokai in Fulham Road, and I did it as a kid and did some competitions as a kid. Never got past like purple belt, I think it was, or whatever. But you as a school kid, games. And then a guy said, "Oh yeah, come down the club, have a tear up." So that was when I got back into it, was with Guy. Guy was really good, and sometimes he'd sensei, he'd take the the lower belt clubs, he'd take this the session every now and then, and he was really good. They really respected down there. As this is before he started doing his all of his jiu-jitsu and all the stuff he does now, but back then he was really good. Shota Khan black belt at a really good club. He's the first person that sort of got me back into it.
So taking you back to Renegades, because we've got to go that way, of course it leaves you up in the air a little bit, and so are we going to see a bit more martial arts action in number 2, do we think?
I'd love that. I mean, I'd love that. It's all about how these things work, the fact is that some of the reviews, especially the UK ones, have been a bit scathing, but in America, it's got 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I was explaining this earlier, and I was talking to the producer Softcott about this. The thing is, in America, there's a market for those cheap, cheesy action films. The Roger Corman type action movies. They love that. They love a bit. This film, we know, is going to do well in America in that genre, in that sort of cheap and fun sort of genre. There's stations dedicated to those people that will do it. I'd love there to be a sequel. I'd love to be able to, and this time have a bit more work and get a bit more people involved. And I also, what I've spoken to Jonathan about is, what's interesting is there's a few people out there that you wouldn't think of that are actually really reasonably good martial artists. There's actors that I've worked with that I know have got black belts in, or if not Shota Khan or Wardadoo, then kickboxing or other martial arts. And it'd be quite interesting to get a few people that you recognise off the telly to do their own stunts and their own fights, because they can actually do them.
Absolutely. Gets my vote. Gets my vote, Nick. That's 100%
and you get someone like me that can actually do it.
Yeah.
With someone else who was a junior champion. I won't mention any names now because we'll see what happens. But there's a few people you go, really? People off Casualty or people you wouldn't know, but to get those guys in, and you could do, that's like the standard that Scott does. Louis Mandalor's actually very good. He used to box, and he does his Thai boxing. He was the real deal. He could hold his own. There's a few others. I mean, when we did Avengement, it was just like a day at the circus. I just sit there and watch Scott and all his team just doing incredible things, and every one of them was a martial artist first, and then a stuntman, and they give them little roles as an actor. But they were, Luke, bless him, Luke was he was the White Power Ranger, but that was a while ago. He's a bit bigger now. Are you sure? But so you have these guys in there that all have their expertise and can really throw themselves around, and it was, like I said, a day at the circus watching those guys. So I'd love to do another one if we get a chance.
Did you get to meet Mark Strange while they were there?
Twice. He was on Avengement, and he's another one. He can really do it. And but the thing is, I mean, that's great that those guys have got all that talent and can do those moves, but what's interesting, if as I said, I don't want to mention any names, but if it's one of the doctors from Casualty who's secretly who's actually a sensei, you wouldn't expect that. There's quite a few people that you would not expect to be able to sort of do some really interesting sort of punches and kicks.
I think that's a fantastic idea. Anyway, I've been given on screen that I've got to wrap it up, but thank you, Nick, and I hope to speak to you soon again, and let's do a bigger thing for World of Martial Arts TV and get you up there again. But the film is terrific. It really is great.
Listen, as I said, Andrew, I'm really sorry. I was saying to Will earlier, I should have worn my gi. It's upstairs. I should have been sat here, KWF, all my badges on it. But I should have done all that. I'll do that
another time. And thank you, Debs. Thank you
very much. Cheers, pal. Bye bye.